Real power is quiet. Real power is awareness. Real power is the ability to understand people without losing yourself. Most people don't realize this, but your greatest advantage in life is not how loud you speak, how fast you think, or how impressive you sound. Your real advantage is your ability to read people, sense their emotions, understand their patterns, and stay centered no matter what energy surrounds you. Human behavior isn't random, it's a language. And once you learn how to read it, everything about your relationships, your confidence, and your life changes. You don't need to control people. You just need to understand them. Many people live their lives reacting to words, to tone, to the moods of others, to their own unexamined fears. One comment can ruin their day. One misunderstanding can trigger their insecurity. One expression can make them feel invisible, unvalued, or dismissed. And they don't realize that most of these reactions aren't about truth. They're about interpretation. They're about what the mind assumes before it understands. When you don't understand human behavior, everything feels personal. But here's the truth: nothing is ever just personal. Every reaction someone gives you comes from their stories, their fears, their insecurities, their unmet needs, and their emotional history. When you start to see the psychology behind people's actions, they stop confusing you. They stop overwhelming you. You no longer feel pulled into their chaos because you finally understand where it's coming from. Understanding gives you emotional space, and emotional space gives you freedom. In the next 90 minutes, you're not here for surface-level advice. You're not here to memorize tricks, tactics, or social hacks. You're here to learn the deeper patterns, the psychological mechanics that shape how people think, behave, react, withdraw, connect, or push away. You're here to build a level of social intelligence that helps you navigate every conversation with clarity instead of fear, intention instead of impulse, and calm strength instead of emotional chaos. This is not entertainment, this is mastery. We will explore the psychology of communication, emotional triggers, non-verbal signals, influence, boundaries, attachment, identity, and social energy. You'll learn why people hide their true feelings, why they defend themselves even when they're wrong, why they misread your intentions, why they escalate when they feel insecure, and why they shut down when they feel misunderstood. You'll learn how to recognize these patterns instantly, and more importantly, how to stay grounded when they show up. Social intelligence is not about being liked, it's about being aware. Each chapter in this audiobook gives you one psychological lens and one practical action. You'll learn how to observe without absorbing, how to empathize without losing yourself, how to connect without people-pleasing, and how to lead conversations with emotional clarity. You'll learn how to listen for what people are really saying, not just the words they choose. You'll learn how to see the story behind someone's anger, the fear behind their silence, and the insecurity behind their confidence. When you understand behavior, you stop personalizing it. When you stop personalizing it, you stop suffering. Imagine stepping into any room and instantly sensing the emotional temperature. Imagine being able to tell when someone is anxious, defensive, intimidated, or hiding something. Imagine knowing how to respond in a way that is calm, steady, and effective, even when emotions run high. Imagine no longer feeling drained by difficult people because you finally know how to protect your energy without withdrawing from life. Understanding human behavior doesn't just make you smarter. It makes you stronger. It makes you calmer. It makes you free. As we begin this journey, I want you to hold one powerful truth. You don't rise by reacting. You rise by understanding. So from this moment on, choose a different way of moving through the world. Don't let other people's emotions infect your peace. Don't let their behavior shape your self-worth. Don't let their confusion become your confusion. Observe first, understand second. Respond last. Human behavior is a map. Social intelligence is the compass. And once you hold both, you stop getting lost. Let's begin. People rarely say what they truly mean. People rarely reveal what they truly feel. And people almost never communicate the full story with words alone. If you want to master human behavior and build real social intelligence, you must begin with this truth. Words are the weakest part of communication. They're filtered, edited, polished, softened, or sharpened, depending on what people want you to see. But the body, the tone, the eyes, the micro shifts in energy, those things don't lie. They're honest even when the mind is not. They reveal the truth long before someone is ready to admit it. Most people listen with their ears, but the ones who truly understand others listen with their awareness. Every conversation you have is layered. What someone says sits on the surface. But beneath that surface is everything else. Tension, fear, desire, insecurity, pride, hope, shame, disappointment, excitement, confusion. These signals leak through in subtle ways, in how someone pauses, how they pace their words, how their shoulders move, how their breath shifts when a topic hits something emotional. If you learn to sense those details, you begin to read people at a level most never reach. And reading people is not about judgment, it's about clarity. Let's start with the most important principle. Behavior speaks louder than language. A person can say, "I'm fine," while their lips tighten, their brows pull in, and their shoulders curl forward. A person can say, "It's no big deal," while their voice gets thin and flat. A person can say, "I don't care," while their eyes avoid yours because they care more than they want to admit. Once you understand these mismatches, you stop believing the surface message and begin to understand the emotional truth underneath. Most conflicts in life come from taking words at face value and ignoring what the rest of the person is screaming. There's a reason why emotionally intelligent people seem intuitive. It's not magic. It's pattern recognition. When you see enough human behavior, your brain begins to recognize the emotional fingerprints behind every reaction. The stiffness of someone who's hurt, the exaggerated confidence of someone who's insecure, the delayed smile of someone who's hiding something, the tired eyes of someone who feels unseen. Human beings are walking emotional maps, but most people never learn how to read them. Let's break down the 5 core channels of behavior that reveal far more than words ever will. The first is micro-expression, those brief flashes of emotion that appear on the face for less than half a second. You can't control them consciously. They leak out before the mind can filter them. A quick eyebrow lift that signals surprise, a tiny lip press that signals frustration, a rapid eye blink that signals discomfort. Once you learn to notice these things, you start hearing the emotional truth behind someone's words. The second channel is tone, how something is said, not what is said. Tone reveals confidence, intention, emotional weight, and internal conflict. A shaky tone signals fear or self-doubt. A monotone voice signals detachment or exhaustion. A rising tone at the end of sentences signals insecurity or a need for approval. A sharp tone signals defensiveness, even when the words are polite. The third channel is pace, how quickly a person speaks. When someone speeds up, it often means stress, excitement, anxiety, or a desire to escape the pressure of the moment. When someone slows down, it can mean caution, calculation, deep thought, or a desire to control the emotional tempo of the conversation. Pace is not random, it is emotional rhythm. The fourth channel is posture, how the body positions itself in space. Someone leaning in is engaged. Someone leaning back is skeptical. Someone tightening the jaw is holding anger. Someone tensing the shoulders is carrying fear. Even the direction of someone's feet matters. They point toward what we want and away from what we don't. And the fifth channel is eyes, not in the poetic sense, but in the biological sense. Eyes dilate when interested, contract when threatened, shift sideways when uncertain, drop downward when ashamed. Eye contact that is too intense can signal dominance or insecurity. Eye contact that is too brief can signal avoidance or discomfort. The eyes reveal emotional temperature long before the words catch up. When you combine these channels, you begin to see people more clearly than they see themselves. But reading people is not just about observation. It's also about understanding context, because human behavior is always shaped by fear, history, environment, and identity. A person who avoids eye contact might be lying, or they might simply be shy. A person who speaks loudly might be confident, or they might be masking insecurity. A person who interrupts might be rude, or they might be anxious and afraid of losing their point. Human behavior without context is just noise. Human behavior with context becomes truth. This is why social intelligence is not just visual. It's emotional. You must ask yourself, what emotional need is this person trying to protect right now? Because every behavior is an emotional strategy. Anger protects vulnerability. Silence protects fear. Over-explaining protects insecurity. Defensiveness protects shame. Even humor often protects pain. When you begin to decode the need behind the behavior, you stop reacting and start understanding. Let's take an example. Imagine someone tells you they're not upset, but their voice is tight, their shoulders are stiff, and they avoid your eyes. Most people would push harder, argue, or become defensive. But a socially intelligent person sees the truth. This person is overwhelmed. They're protecting their pride. They're not ready to talk. The right move is not pressure, but space. Understanding people means responding to their emotional reality, not their spoken reality. Now, here's the part most people miss. You cannot read people clearly if you are emotionally reactive. When you're triggered, you don't observe. You assume. You don't see. You project. You don't notice. You defend. Your emotions distort your perception, and the behavior of others starts to feel like a threat instead of information. The calmer you are, the clearer everything becomes. Social intelligence begins with emotional stillness. Calmness sharpens perception. Stillness increases accuracy. Awareness replaces assumption. This chapter is not about making you suspicious of people. It's about making you aware. The more clearly you see others, the easier it is to navigate conversations, resolve conflict, protect your energy, and build meaningful connections. You stop wasting time trying to decode mixed signals because you finally see the emotional signals beneath them. You stop taking things personally because you understand they were never about you. You stop being confused by people because their behavior finally makes sense. Understanding human behavior doesn't make you cynical. It makes you compassionate. It makes you wise. It makes you powerful. As you move into the next chapters, carry this principle with you. What people say is information, but how they say it is truth. Listen with your ears, but observe with your awareness. Notice the tension, the subtle movements, the emotional shifts. Read the room without absorbing the room. And above all, see the human beneath the behavior. Because once you can read people beyond their words, you stop getting lost in their noise, and you start guiding the conversation with clarity. And that is where mastery begins. Chapter 1. Read people beyond their words. Most people listen to words, but the truth lives in everything unspoken. This is the root of nearly every misunderstanding we face. We hear language, but miss intention. We hear explanations, but miss hesitation. We hear tone, but miss tension. Human beings are emotional first, and communicators second. That means most of what people truly communicate never comes out through their vocabulary. It shows up in the tiny signals they send without realizing it. And if you do not learn to see those signals, you will misread people again and again. If you only listen to language, you will misunderstand people repeatedly. People rarely lie intentionally, but they often lie with comfort. They hide their exhaustion with, "I'm fine." They hide disappointment with, "It's okay." They hide hurt with, "I'm over it." They hide fear with, "It doesn't matter." Words frequently reflect the identity they want to present. Behavior reflects their actual emotional state. When you react only to what they say, you respond to their mask instead of their truth. And that is how confusion begins. You end up blaming yourself for reactions that had nothing to do with you. You interpret someone's silence as rejection when it might be anxiety. You believe someone's frustration is directed at you when they are actually fighting an inner struggle. You assume someone's distance means they do not care when they might be scared of being vulnerable. Without deeper awareness, you misinterpret behavior and carry emotional burdens that were never yours. You cannot understand someone if you only pay attention to the version of themselves they feel safe showing. Here is the principle that changes everything. Observation is more honest than language. Observation reveals emotional truth. It reveals what someone feels before they attempt to manage it. You begin to notice the micro-tightening around the eyes when something hurts. You notice the controlled breath when someone is worried. You notice the forced smile that tries to hide discomfort. These signals speak long before the mouth does. When you see them, conversations stop feeling confusing and start becoming clear. Picture this moment. Someone says they are fine, but their voice drops slightly. Their shoulders rise. Their breath grows shallow. Their eyes shift away for a brief second. Most people hear the word fine and move on. Someone with social intelligence hears the unspoken message. The truth is always in the shift, not the sentence. Reading people is not mind reading. It is noticing what has always been visible. You begin mastering this skill by focusing on 5 core areas of human expression that reveal emotional truth beneath the surface. The first is micro-expressions. These tiny facial movements appear for a fraction of a second before the brain masks them. A quick tightening around the lips, a flash of sadness in the eyes, a brief widening that signals fear. These are involuntary signals. They reveal the truth before the person has time to filter it. The second is tone and rhythm. Tone exposes meaning. Rhythm exposes emotion. When someone speaks faster than usual, they may be anxious. When their voice becomes softer, they may be hiding vulnerability. When they pause too often, they may be uncertain. When tone and words do not align, believe the tone. It always carries the deeper truth. The third is posture and tension. The body expresses what the mind does not say. Someone leaning in is engaged. Someone leaning back is guarded. Someone crossing their arms may not be defensive, but they are not fully open either. Someone hiding their hands is usually unsure. Shoulders raised mean stress. Shoulders lowered mean trust. The body always reveals the internal climate. The fourth is eye behavior. Eyes reflect emotional load. When someone looks down, they may be overwhelmed or ashamed. When they look away quickly, they may be hiding something. When their gaze softens, they feel safe. When their gaze hardens, they feel threatened. Eyes reveal the emotional truth of a moment with surprising accuracy. The fifth is emotional energy. This is the overall atmosphere someone carries. You can feel when a person is anxious, calm, irritated, hopeful, withdrawn, or overwhelmed. This is not intuition, it is recognition. You have been sensing energy your entire life. You simply were not trained to trust it. When you read all these signals together, people become far easier to understand. To apply this skill in daily life, try the 10-second scan. During any conversation, pause internally and observe. Notice breathing. Notice posture. Notice tone. Notice where their eyes go. Notice the emotional weight they are carrying. You're not judging. You're collecting truth from signals you never learned to see before. Do this consistently, and you begin noticing patterns. You see who withdraws when overwhelmed. who over-explains when insecure, who gets louder when they feel unseen, who turns cold when they are hurt, who becomes sarcastic when they feel small. Suddenly, their behavior no longer feels personal. It starts to make sense. And clarity replaces emotional confusion. Most people do not communicate their thoughts. They communicate their fears. Fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of disappointment, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing control. When you recognize this, your emotional reactions soften. You stop feeling attacked by someone's defensiveness because you understand the insecurity beneath it. You stop feeling ignored by someone's silence because you understand their fear of vulnerability. You stop chasing validation from someone who is distant because you understand they withdraw to protect themselves, not because you lack value. This awareness creates emotional stability. It dissolves needless conflict. It gives you clarity and compassion without sacrificing your boundaries. You respond with intention instead of reacting with emotion. This is the foundation of social intelligence, not manipulation, not performance. Awareness. A simple daily reflection can accelerate your growth. Ask yourself these 3 questions. What did I notice today that I would have missed before? What emotion hid beneath the words I heard? Where did I react when I should have observed? These questions shift your mind toward clarity. They sharpen your perception. They reveal layers of emotional truth that were invisible to you before. Human beings communicate constantly. Their bodies speak first. Their energy speaks louder. Their words come last. If you learn to see what is unspoken, you will understand people more deeply than they understand themselves. See the truth beneath the talk. Everything you want to understand begins there. Chapter 2. Master the psychology of first impressions. People decide who you are long before you say a single word. It is one of the most uncomfortable truths in human psychology. First impressions shape how others see you, trust you, and respond to you. They determine whether someone opens up or closes off, whether they feel safe or guarded, whether they feel drawn to your presence or unsure of your intentions. And the surprising part is this. Most of these impressions form within the first 3 to 5 seconds. Not after a long conversation, not after careful evaluation, in just a moment, before logic ever has a chance to step in. Presence speaks faster than language. Most people underestimate how powerful these initial moments are. They walk into a room distracted, tense, or mentally scattered. They carry the energy of stress from earlier in the day. They slump their shoulders. They move without intention. They avoid eye contact. They enter conversations without grounding themselves, and they wonder why people misread them. They think they are being judged unfairly. In reality, the signals they broadcast are inconsistent with who they are on the inside. To understand first impressions, you must understand this psychological rule. The brain is constantly scanning for safety, confidence, and clarity. If someone senses any form of emotional instability, even if it is subtle, they interpret it as uncertainty. And the moment you look uncertain, the other person instinctively protects themselves, not because they dislike you, not because you have done anything wrong, but because the human brain is wired to avoid risk. People are not evaluating your personality first. They are evaluating your stability. Think about how quickly you do this yourself. When you meet someone who looks grounded, calm, and present, you naturally trust them more. When someone stands tall and maintains soft eye contact, you feel safer. When someone's energy is steady, their presence feels stronger. You interpret these signals before you interpret their words. And the same process happens when people meet you. Now let's break down the psychology of how first impressions truly work. They are not based on appearance in the shallow sense. They are based on cues that reveal presence. Presence is a psychological state. It is not a style. It is not attractiveness. It is not perfection. Presence is the sense that you are here, you are aware, and you are composed. Presence is emotional clarity made visible. When someone meets you, three things register instantly: your posture, your eyes, your energy. These signals are processed unconsciously. The nervous system picks them up before the mind has time to think. That means you cannot fake them. You cannot memorize tricks. You cannot perform confidence. You must embody it. Let's explore each one deeply, because each plays a powerful role. Posture is not about standing tall for the sake of looking confident. It is about alignment. When you stand in your natural posture, with your shoulders relaxed, your neck long, and your chest open, you communicate to the other person that your nervous system is calm. You signal that you are not bracing for conflict, not shrinking from discomfort, not hiding from attention. You show that you can handle the moment. Eye contact is not about staring. It is about presence. When your eyes soften, it signals emotional safety. When your gaze is steady but not aggressive, it builds trust. When you break eye contact too quickly, people sense anxiety. When you hold it just long enough to show connection, you convey ease. Eye behavior is one of the strongest indicators of your internal world. Energy is the most powerful of all. People feel your energy before they interpret your expression. Even if you smile, they can tell if your smile is strained. They can sense if you are restless. They can sense if you are nervous. They can sense if you are mentally elsewhere. Energy reveals what your face tries to hide. And because energy is felt, not seen, people trust it more than anything else. You cannot control whether people form first impressions, but you can control what they feel. Let's walk through a practical shift you can start using immediately. It is simple, it is subtle, but it changes everything. When you enter any space, pause for 1 second, just one. Feel your breath, ground your feet, relax your shoulders, lift your chest slightly, allow your expression to neutralize, and then step forward. People feel when you arrive with intention. This single second of awareness transforms your energy. You enter the moment differently. You no longer feel rushed. You no longer feel scattered. You no longer bring the residue of earlier stress into a new interaction. You show up grounded, and grounded energy is magnetic. To deepen your mastery, consider how the brain interprets these signals. The human brain is always trying to answer two primal questions. Am I safe here? Can I trust this person? Before you speak, before you explain, before you introduce yourself. These two questions guide the emotional tone of every interaction. When your presence is calm and stable, the answer to both questions becomes yes. And when people feel safe with you, connection opens. When people feel unsafe, the connection closes. This explains why some people make great impressions effortlessly. They are not trying to impress. They are not performing confidence. They simply embody steadiness. Their internal world is not chaotic. Their energy is not tense. Their mind is not racing. Their presence communicates certainty, and certainty is comforting. People follow emotional calmness, not emotional volume. Fotos. To apply this in your daily life, practice what I call the stillness anchor. Whenever you feel overwhelmed in a social moment, place your attention on one simple physical cue. It might be your breath, or the feeling of your feet on the ground, or the release of your shoulders. This anchor keeps your nervous system steady. And when your nervous system steadies, your presence deepens. Another powerful tool is the timing of your movements. Slow movements suggest control and awareness. When you nod slowly, people feel heard. When you turn your head slowly, people feel acknowledged. When your gestures are deliberate, people feel your clarity. Fast movements signal tension. Slow movements signal confidence. Now, let's consider eye contact more deeply. The key is softness, not intensity. Look long enough to show engagement, but not so long that it feels confrontational. When you break eye contact, do it gently, not abruptly. A gentle break shows ease. An abrupt break shows discomfort. These tiny cues create emotional impressions that last far beyond the conversation. A calm presence makes people trust you before they know you. To strengthen your awareness, reflect on 3 questions at the end of each day. How did I enter the rooms I walked into today? What energy did I carry into those moments? Which part of my presence felt ungrounded? These reflections sharpen your social awareness. They teach you to take responsibility for the signals you send. They help you refine your presence so that people meet the most grounded version of you. And now we arrive at the essence of this chapter. Presence shapes perception. Perception shapes connection. Connection shapes everything. When you master the psychology of first impressions, you stop letting others define you through assumptions. You begin defining yourself through intention. You show up in a way that communicates stability, clarity, and confidence. And people respond to you differently because they feel your internal balance. Lead the room before you speak. Your presence speaks faster than your words. Chapter 3. Decode emotional triggers. People don't react to what you said. They react to what it means to them. This is one of the deepest truths in human behavior and one of the most overlooked. Emotional reactions rarely match the situation in front of us. They match an older story, a past wound, an unhealed insecurity, or a fear we are still carrying. When someone overreacts, it is rarely about the moment itself. It is about the meaning their mind attached to it. And until you understand emotional triggers, you will continue misreading people, misreading yourself, and getting caught in conflicts that make no logical sense. Every reaction has a root. Most people believe their emotional reactions are rational. They believe they are responding to reality. But the truth is more complex. We react to the interpretation, not the situation. If someone raises their voice, it might trigger a childhood memory of anger or criticism. If someone forgets a small detail, it might trigger an old fear of not being valued. If someone pulls away, it might trigger a wound of abandonment. If someone corrects us, it might trigger a sense of inadequacy. Each moment becomes layered with history. Understanding triggers gives you emotional freedom. To master this skill, you must understand how triggers form in the first place. They often begin as emotional imprints created during moments when we felt powerless. These moments leave a psychological fingerprint. For example, if someone grew up never feeling heard, even a small interruption might trigger a deep wave of frustration. If someone experienced rejection, even neutral silence might feel threatening. If someone was shamed for expressing emotion, even constructive feedback might feel like humiliation. A trigger is not the emotion, it is the doorway to the emotion. Once you understand this, you also begin to understand others more deeply. Someone snapping at you may not be attacking you. They may be defending themselves from an old wound being reopened. Someone pulling away may not be losing interest. They may be afraid of being judged or misunderstood. Someone going quiet may not be dismissing you. They may be protecting themselves. Someone becoming defensive may not be resisting you. They may be resisting the memory of feeling inadequate. When you see the root, the reaction stops feeling personal. Let's dive into the emotional mechanics behind triggers. Every trigger has 3 layers: the surface feeling, the hidden fear, and the deeper belief. The surface feeling is immediate. It might be irritation, defensiveness, or sadness. The hidden fear is the emotional memory. It might be fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of abandonment, fear of inadequacy. And beneath that is the deeper belief. A belief like, I'm not enough. I'm unlovable. I'm unwanted. I'm always wrong. These beliefs form the foundation of our emotional patterns. When someone's reaction does not match the situation, it means you are touching a deeper layer. and the deeper the layer, the stronger the reaction. People don't protect themselves from you. They protect themselves from their own emotional history. To decode emotional triggers, the most important skill is slowing down your perception. Most people react instantly and miss the emotional data. But when you create a moment of space, even half a second, you begin to see what is really happening. You see the shift in someone's eyes. You see the tightening in their breath. You see the emotional weight behind their words. You see the fear beneath the anger. Slowing down gives you access to clarity. Let's explore this through a practical example. Imagine you say something neutral like, "You forgot to message me back." The person responds harshly. On the surface, it looks like an overreaction, but underneath you may be triggering an old fear of disappointing others, or a belief that they are not dependable, or a memory of being criticized. Their reaction is not about you. It is about the story they told themselves when they heard your words. When you decode the trigger, emotional clarity returns. Now let's turn this understanding inward. You have triggers too. Everyone does. They are not weaknesses. They are emotional maps. And when you learn to read your own triggers, you stop being controlled by them. You stop reacting blindly. You stop building walls. You stop sabotaging conversations. You stop repeating old patterns. To recognize your own triggers, begin with 3 questions. What moments make me instantly tense? What types of comments hurt more than they should? What behaviors from others make me feel unsafe? These questions lead you to the emotional roots. And when you find the roots, you find your clarity. Naming the emotion gives you control over the emotion. The same applies when dealing with others. You do not need to diagnose them. You simply need to see that something deeper is happening. Instead of fighting their reaction, you hold space for it. Instead of pushing back, you slow down. Instead of taking offense, you understand. And especially with people you care about, this understanding changes everything. It reduces conflict. It builds trust. It deepens the connection. Another powerful technique is pausing before responding. A pause is not silence. It is emotional intelligence. It gives the nervous system time to settle. It gives the mind time to choose clarity. It gives the relationship time to stay intact. And most importantly, it prevents you from reacting to someone's reaction. A calm pause can save an entire conversation. To integrate this skill into your life, begin observing conversations differently. When someone reacts strongly, ask yourself internally, what fear might be behind this reaction? What insecurity might be speaking right now? What old wound might be resurfacing? You're not excusing their behavior, you're understanding it. When you see the root, you stop fighting the surface. To end this chapter, remember this truth. People aren't difficult. Their triggers are. And when you understand those triggers, you gain the power to move through the world with compassion, clarity, and calm strength. Understand the trigger. Control the moment. Chapter 4. Build social awareness through silence. Silence is not the absence of communication. Silence is the amplifier of truth. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. They feel the need to fill every gap, explain every moment, respond instantly, and keep the conversation moving. They assume silence means disconnection or tension or awkwardness. But silence is none of that. Silence is awareness. Silence is presence. Silence is the space where the mind becomes honest enough to reveal what is actually happening. Silence allows you to see what words try to hide. When you remove noise from the moment, the emotional clarity rises to the surface. You notice the tension in someone's shoulders. You notice the way their eyes shift when something touches a nerve. You notice the change in their voice when they are unsure. You notice the energy behind their pauses. These details disappear when you rush. Silence reveals them. It turns the emotional volume up, so you can understand the person in front of you with far more accuracy. Silence is the most powerful tool of social intelligence. It gives you time to observe instead of react. There is a simple psychological reason for this. When you pause, your nervous system shifts from reactivity to awareness. Your mind stops scrambling for the next response and starts absorbing the emotional information in front of you. This shift opens your perception. It slows the speed of your thoughts. It gives you room to see the meaning beneath someone's behavior. Instead of defending yourself, you begin understanding them. Instead of fighting, you begin noticing. Instead of escalating, you begin grounding. When the mind no longer feels rushed, it becomes capable of deep insight. Let's look at why silence is so uncomfortable for many people. For some, silence triggers insecurity. They fear being judged. They fear being misunderstood. They fear that silence means rejection. For others, silence triggers guilt or self-doubt. They assume something is wrong. They believe they need to fix or explain. And for many, silence simply feels foreign because they grew up in environments where noise replaced emotional honesty, where talking replaced feeling, where speed replaced understanding. Silence does not create distance. Silence creates space. Space for truth, space for clarity, space for the emotional signals that normally go unnoticed. When you become comfortable with silence, you become a stronger observer. You see the conversation from a higher level. You notice patterns, fears, triggers, and emotional needs. You understand when someone is withdrawing, not because they do not care, but because they are overwhelmed. You understand when someone is defensive, not because they are angry, but because they feel exposed. You understand when someone goes quiet, not to punish you, but because they are processing something they do not have the words for yet. Silence allows you to hear the emotional story behind the spoken one. To master this skill, you must train yourself to pause before speaking. A 3-second pause is enough to reset the entire emotional tone of the interaction. You breathe, you observe, you let the moment settle. And in that pause, you gather more information than you could have gathered through constant talking. Imagine someone shares something vulnerable and you respond immediately. You might say the right thing, but your fast reaction communicates anxiety, not presence. Now imagine you pause, breathe, and let their words land. Your silence communicates that you heard them. It communicates that you are with them. It communicates emotional maturity. This quiet acknowledgement often matters more than the words themselves. People feel your silence more deeply than your reassurance. Silence is also essential when navigating conflict. Most arguments escalate because both people react too quickly. They interrupt, they defend, they correct, they assume. They react to the surface instead of exploring the root. But when you pause, even for a moment, you interrupt this cycle. Your calmness lowers the tension. Your space gives the other person room to breathe. Your presence signals that you do not intend to fight, but to understand. A pause is not surrender. A pause is leadership. It tells the other nervous system that the conversation is safe. It invites vulnerability instead of resistance. It opens the door for truth instead of impulsive emotion. To use silence effectively, you must learn a simple psychological practice. When you feel yourself getting defensive, overwhelmed, or triggered, pause. Bring your attention to your breath. Release your shoulders. Allow the moment to slow down. This single shift transforms how you communicate. Instead of reacting, you respond. Instead of assuming, you observe. Instead of escalating, you regulate. Silence also reveals what someone is avoiding. When you pause after asking a question, the truth emerges. Someone hesitates because they are scared. Someone changes the subject because they are uncomfortable. Someone looks away because the topic touches a deeper wound. Someone exhales because they finally feel safe enough to be honest. None of these signals appear when you rush. They only appear when there is space. If you eliminate silence, you eliminate the truth. One of the most powerful uses of silence is creating emotional presence. When you sit with someone and allow the moment to breathe, you communicate a message deeper than any words. You communicate that you are not rushing them. You communicate that you are not judging them. You communicate that you are here, fully. In a world where attention is fragmented and conversations feel mechanical, this level of presence is rare, and rare presence builds trust instantly. Let yourself consider this. The people who make you feel the safest are often the ones who do not rush you. They listen fully. They give you space to think. They let silence do the heavy lifting. Listening begins in silence. Now, let's take this deeper. Silence teaches you to notice emotional truths that people do not know how to articulate. You see, when someone's eyes soften because they feel understood, you see when their posture loosens because they feel safe. You see when their breath deepens because they trust you. These subtle changes happen in silence, and once you learn to observe them, your capacity for connection grows dramatically. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is information. And this brings us to the core of the chapter. A quiet mind sees loudly. A rushed mind sees nothing. Quiet minds read loud signals. That is the power of silence. Chapter 5. Influence without force. Influence is not about pushing people. Influence is about guiding their emotions. Most people misunderstand influence. They think it is about persuading harder, talking more, explaining longer, or proving why they are right. They assume influence comes from confidence or dominance or perfect arguments. But human beings do not respond to pressure. They respond to clarity. They respond to calmness. They respond to emotional safety. Real influence has nothing to do with force. It has everything to do with presence. People do not follow pressure. People follow stability. When someone feels pressured, they resist. When someone feels judged, they shut down. When someone feels unheard, they defend. When someone feels unsafe, they fight back. And none of these reactions have anything to do with your logic. They have everything to do with their nervous system. Influence requires understanding the emotional state of the person in front of you. If you do not understand their emotional reality, you will never understand their behavior. This is why you can present perfect reasoning and still fail to persuade someone. Logic touches the mind. Pressure triggers the emotions, but presence reaches both. When you create a sense of emotional safety, the other person becomes more open. Their defenses soften, their fear reduces, their awareness expands. And in that space, your words land more deeply. Influence is the art of making someone feel safe enough to hear you. Let's break down the psychology behind this. When people feel controlled, their brain shifts into self-protection mode. They stop listening to your ideas and start trying to protect their autonomy. They push back not because they disagree, but because they feel overwhelmed. The more force you use, the more resistance you create. The more resistance you create, the less influence you have. But when your energy is calm and grounded, you activate a different part of their brain. You activate curiosity, you activate openness, you activate trust. These states create the ideal conditions for influence. Influence is not about speaking louder. It is about speaking from a place that makes the other person's nervous system relax. Calmness is persuasive. Pressure is repulsive. To practice influence without force, you must learn the emotional rhythm of communication. Every conversation has a flow, and influence works best when you follow this four-part pattern. You state your message, you pause, you ask a question, you confirm their understanding. This rhythm is simple but incredibly powerful because it respects the other person's autonomy. It gives them space. It makes the conversation a collaboration instead of a battle. Let's examine each part more deeply. When you state your message calmly and directly, you give the other person clarity. Clarity reduces anxiety. Anxiety is what creates defensiveness. When your tone is steady and your words are simple, the other person does not feel attacked. They feel oriented. Orientation is the foundation of trust. The pause is what gives your message weight. Most people rush to fill space because silence makes them nervous. But silence communicates confidence. It shows you are grounded. It signals that you are not trying to overpower them. It allows their mind to process. This small moment of silence often does more work than your actual words. Asking a question invites engagement. It shows respect. It shifts the conversation from instruction to partnership. Instead of telling them what to think, you ask what they think. This reduces resistance instantly. You are no longer pushing, you are guiding. And confirming understanding is the final step. It ensures you are aligned. It prevents misinterpretation. It helps you see where their fears or doubts lie. Without this step, people may nod politely while silently resisting. Influence is not a monologue. Influence is co-regulation. Co-regulation means your calmness regulates their emotional state. It means your presence stabilizes them. It means your awareness lifts the quality of the entire interaction. When you master this, people naturally follow your lead. They trust your pace. They trust your judgment. They trust your intention. And they feel respected, not controlled. Now let's explore a key psychological truth. People rarely resist your message. They resist the feeling of being influenced. The moment they sense manipulation, persuasion falls apart. But when your intention is clean and your energy is grounded, people feel it. They feel the sincerity. They feel the stability. They feel the respect. Influence becomes effortless because it becomes honest. Honest influence requires emotional transparency. This means stating what you want without fear, saying what you feel without aggression, communicating your needs without apology. People respond better to open intention than hidden agendas. If you want cooperation, say so. If you want clarity, say so. If you want understanding, say so. Directness is not force. Directness is clarity. And clarity is kind. Another important element of influence is emotional pacing. You must meet the other person where they are emotionally before guiding them anywhere else. If someone is anxious, you must speak gently. If someone is defensive, you must speak slowly. If someone is hurt, you must speak softly. Influence requires matching their emotional pace, not their emotional intensity. Match the pace, not the emotion. This is where many people make mistakes. They mirror the other person's emotion instead of mirroring their rhythm. When someone is angry, you do not get angry back. When someone is withdrawn, you do not chase. When someone is tense, you do not tighten. You meet their speed, not their state. This helps them settle without losing control. To make this practical, pay attention to these subtle cues next time you're in a difficult conversation. Notice how fast they speak. Notice how heavy their breathing is. Notice how reactive or calm they seem. And adjust your tone and rhythm accordingly. This reduces friction instantly. It gives your presence authority without dominance. Authority without force is the highest form of influence. Another core principle is never trying to influence someone while their emotions are peaked. When emotions are high, logic disappears. Influence requires awareness. Awareness requires regulation. If you push during emotional intensity, you lose connection. If you wait for emotional calmness, you gain influence. So the key is simple. Do not influence during reactivity. Influence during clarity. This is why the calm pause is your most powerful tool. It resets the nervous system. It resets the emotional tone. It resets the direction of the conversation. A pause is not passive. A pause is strategic. It is the clearing of emotional fog so the message can finally land. To strengthen your influence, reflect on 3 questions at the end of the day. Did my presence feel stable? Did my tone create safety? Did my pace reduce resistance? These questions refine your social intelligence. They reveal where your influence is strong and where it needs adjustment. They help you lead with awareness instead of impulse. Influence is not manipulation. Influence is not dominance. Influence is guided emotional clarity. And this brings us to the core of the chapter. People don't resist clarity. They resist pressure. When you master influence without force, you move through the world with calm authority. Your words carry weight. Your energy creates trust. Your presence makes people feel safe enough to listen, understand, and respond with openness. Influence is calm. Influence is presence. Influence is clarity. Chapter 6. Emotional detachment. Don't take things personally. Most of the pain you feel does not come from what people do. It comes from what you think it means. Taking things personally is one of the most common forms of emotional suffering. It turns small moments into wounds. It turns misunderstandings into conflict. It turns neutral situations into reasons to doubt yourself. But the truth is this: most of what people say or do is not about you at all. It is about their stress. It is about their fears. It is about their insecurities. It is about their past. When you learn to detach from these projections, your emotional life becomes calmer, clearer, and far more stable. Their behavior reflects their internal world, not your worth. The reason people take things personally is simple. The mind constantly tries to interpret behavior. When someone seems cold, you assume you caused it. When someone ignores a message, you assume they do not care. When someone speaks sharply, you assume they are upset with you. But none of these responses come from truth. They come from emotional stories your mind creates to fill the silence. The brain hates uncertainty. So when it lacks information, it invents meaning, and that meaning is almost always negative. To detach emotionally, you must understand this psychological pattern. People react from their emotional state, not from objective reality. A stressed person sounds rude even when they do not intend to be. An insecure person pulls away even when they want connection. A tired person seems uninterested even when they value you. A triggered person becomes defensive even when you are not attacking them. Their reaction is a mirror of their state, not a judgment of your value. When you stop personalizing behavior, you stop absorbing pain that was never yours. But detachment is not coldness. Detachment is clarity. It is the ability to observe someone's reaction without automatically assuming you are the cause. It is the ability to pause before creating emotional stories that hurt you. It is the ability to stay grounded even when others are not, and it is one of the most powerful emotional skills you will ever learn. Let's explore how emotional detachment works internally. When something happens, your mind experiences a gap between stimulus and interpretation. In that gap, the mind fills the space with assumptions. If your self-worth is fragile, the assumption becomes self-blame. If your fear is abandonment, the assumption becomes rejection. If your insecurity is inadequacy, the assumption becomes failure. Emotional detachment is the practice of protecting that gap. It is learning to interpret differently. It is learning to keep your peace when the mind wants to react. Detach from the story. Observe the moment. One of the reasons detachment feels difficult is that the ego wants to be the center of everything. The ego wants to believe everything is about us. It feels safer that way, even if it hurts. The ego says, if I'm the cause, I can fix it. But emotional maturity means understanding that you are not the cause of someone else's fear, frustration, or emotional imbalance. You can influence someone, but you cannot control the emotional world inside them. People carry unspoken burdens. You see the reaction, not the weight behind it. You see the tone, not the exhaustion. You see the distance, not the anxiety. You see the silence, not the overwhelm. And because you cannot see the story, You assume you are the story. Emotional detachment frees you from carrying the weight of other people's storms. To practice detachment, start with this simple psychological shift. When someone reacts, instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" ask, "What might they be dealing with?" This question moves you from ego to empathy. It moves you from personalizing to understanding. It moves you from emotional reactivity to emotional intelligence. Suddenly, everything softens. You see the person instead of the projection. Consider this example. Someone responds to you with a cold tone. Your instinct might be to think, "They're upset with me." But emotional detachment asks, are they stressed? Are they distracted? Are they overwhelmed? These questions create distance between you and the reaction. That distance is what protects your peace. Another example. Someone pulls away or becomes distant. The personal reaction is, they don't care. The detached reaction is, they might be processing something. They might be scared. They might not have the emotional bandwidth today. The situation has not changed, but your suffering has. Detachment does not change the moment. It changes the meaning of the moment. Now let's explore how detachment helps you stay grounded during conflict. When someone is emotionally charged, they are speaking from a place of pain, not from a place of truth. If you take their words personally, you add your pain to theirs, and the situation spirals. But if you detach, you allow their emotion to move through without absorbing it. You become the calm in the storm rather than the fuel for it. This calm presence shifts the emotional dynamic. Their nervous system senses your steadiness. Their defensiveness lowers, their tone softens, their clarity returns. Emotional regulation is contagious, and detachment is the source of that regulation. When you stay calm, others begin returning to their calm. Another important part of detachment is understanding boundaries. Boundaries are emotional separation. They are the recognition that your feelings are yours and their feelings are theirs. Detachment allows you to differentiate between the two. When you absorb someone's emotions, you lose boundaries. When you detach, you reinforce them. Boundaries do not push people away. Boundaries protect the relationship from emotional confusion. Let's look deeper at how detachment applies to self-worth. Many people tie their value to external approval. When others are happy, they feel worthy. When others are distant, they feel insignificant. This attachment to external validation makes emotional detachment impossible. You must separate your value from someone else's mood. You must understand that their reaction does not define your identity. Your worth is not measured by how others behave. Your worth is measured by who you are. A powerful practice for building detachment is emotional labeling. When you feel triggered, simply say internally, "This is fear, this is insecurity, this is old pain." Naming the emotion reduces its intensity. It creates space between you and the reaction. Detachment grows in that space. You begin choosing your response instead of being driven by emotion. Another useful practice is conscious breathing. A single deep breath creates enough interruption in your pattern to prevent personalizing. The breath gives you distance. The breath gives you awareness. The breath gives you control. While the other person is reacting, you are returning to yourself. The breath is the doorway back to emotional detachment. Detachment also strengthens relationships. It allows you to see the real person instead of taking their reactions as attacks. You begin offering compassion where you once offered frustration. You begin offering understanding where you once offered defensiveness. You allow the relationship to grow in spaces where it used to break. At the end of each day, ask yourself these questions. Where did I take something personally today? What emotion did I absorb that was not mine? How could I have created emotional space instead? These reflections strengthen your awareness. They train your nervous system to respond differently. They build the emotional foundation for inner peace. Now we arrive at the essence of this chapter. Their reaction is not your identity. Their mood is not your responsibility. Their pain is not your burden. Emotional detachment is not withdrawal. It is freedom. It is a strength. It is clarity. Detached to stay free. Detached to stay grounded. Detached to stay yourself. Chapter 7. Social calibration. Match energy, not emotion. You don't have to absorb someone's emotions to connect with them. You only need to match their pace. Social calibration is one of the most valuable skills in human interaction, yet almost no one is taught how it works. It is the ability to adjust your delivery, tone, rhythm, and presence to meet someone where they are emotionally. Not to copy them, not to mirror their mood, not to imitate their intensity, but to align with the pace of their emotional state so you can connect without being consumed by it. Connection does not come from matching emotion. Connection comes from matching energy. Most people misunderstand this difference. When someone is angry, they think matching the energy means getting louder. When someone is anxious, they think matching means becoming frantic. When someone is upset, they think matching means joining their emotional storm. But this only creates chaos. It intensifies tension. It accelerates conflict, and it pulls you into emotional states that are not yours. Social calibration requires clarity. It requires emotional steadiness. It requires the ability to sense the emotional temperature of the moment and respond with awareness instead of instinct. Calibration is awareness made practical. Let's begin with a simple truth. Every human interaction has a rhythm. Some people speak slowly. Some speak fast. Some express emotion openly. Some conceal emotion completely. Some are intense. Some are grounded. Some are scattered. Some are focused. This rhythm reveals their internal state. And when you align your pace with theirs, the interaction becomes smoother, safer, and more effective. Imagine speaking to someone who is overwhelmed. If you approach them with fast speech or heavy emotion, their nervous system will panic. But if you slow your tone, soften your deliver, and create steadiness, their system calibrates to yours. The same is true for someone who is withdrawn. If you speak loudly or intensely, you push them further away. But if you speak gently, with patience and space, they open back up. People are not open to pressure. They are open to understanding. Social calibration begins with reading the emotional atmosphere. You must learn to sense whether the person is energized or drained, tense or relaxed, open or guarded, confident or insecure. These cues inform how you should communicate. Calibration is not pretending. It is not manipulation. It is emotional intelligence in motion. Let's explore how to sense these signals. If someone speaks softly, they likely want space. If someone speaks quickly, they may be anxious. If someone pauses often, they may be unsure or processing. If someone looks away frequently, they may be overwhelmed. If someone avoids long explanations, they may be protecting vulnerability. Once you notice these patterns, you gain access to the emotional reality beneath the surface. Awareness is the beginning of calibration. Now let's turn this awareness into action. Calibration happens through three elements: your pace, your tone, your presence. Pace is the easiest to adjust. When someone speaks slowly, you slow down slightly. When they speak faster, you increase your rhythm just enough to meet their speed without adopting their stress. This alignment creates comfort. People feel safe when the conversation moves at a rhythm they can follow. Not too fast, not too slow, just aligned. Tone carries emotional weight. A soft tone soothes an anxious person. A steady tone grounds an overwhelmed person. A warm tone opens a guarded person. And a calm tone stabilizes someone who is emotionally heightened. Tone communicates more safety than logic ever could. Presence is the anchor. This is your breath, your posture, your facial expression, your emotional steadiness. When your presence is centered, people calibrate to you naturally. They adjust their energy without realizing it because your calmness creates a psychological reset. Presence regulates the room. Calibration becomes especially important during disagreements. Most conflicts escalate because both people respond to each other's emotions instead of each other's pace. One person gets louder, the other gets louder. One gets faster, the other gets faster. Soon, both are arguing from emotion, not clarity. But when you calibrate, you interrupt this cycle. You slow your pace, you soften your tone, you stabilize your presence. This shift influences the entire conversation. If someone is yelling, you do not yell back. You speak clearly, but calmly. If someone is shutting down, you do not overwhelm them with words. You give space. If someone is defensive, you do not confront them with intensity. You speak gently. Calibration reduces emotional friction. It helps the conversation return to clarity. Match pace, not intensity. Let's explore a practical example. A friend is frustrated and speaking fast. If you respond slowly, they may feel unheard. If you respond faster, you may become overwhelmed yourself. Calibration means increasing your pace slightly, just enough so they feel you are with them, then gradually slowing as they follow your calmness. They feel understood and guided at the same time. Another example. Someone is quiet and guarded. If you speak loudly or intensely, they retreat emotionally. Calibration means softening your voice, adding breath to your words, and creating pauses that make them feel safe to speak. Slowly, they open because the environment feels gentle. One more example. Someone is excited and energized. If you respond with low energy, they think you do not care. But if you raise your energy slightly, enough to meet their enthusiasm, they feel validated. Calibration does not mean copying. It means attuning. This ability makes you easy to be around. It makes you feel emotionally intelligent without saying a single word. People trust you because they feel understood, not judged. They feel met, not analyzed. They feel supported, not overwhelmed. Another layer of calibration is emotional containment. When someone expresses strong emotion, you hold your ground. You do not get swept into their emotional current. You do not absorb their fear or anger. You remain steady. This signals that you are a safe emotional anchor. Containment is not suppression. Containment is leadership. When you remain steady while someone else is emotional, you give them something to calibrate to. Their nervous system reads yours. Their breathing follows yours. Their tone softens to match yours. And soon, the emotional storm settles because you did not feed it. To strengthen your calibration skills, reflect on these 3 questions at the end of each day. Did I match their pace or their emotion? Did my presence calm or escalate the moment? Did I listen with my nervous system or only with my ears? These reflections deepen your emotional intelligence. They train your awareness. They help you understand how your energy influences the room. Now we reach the core truth of this chapter. People respond to how you make them feel before they respond to what you say. And how you make them feel depends on your ability to calibrate to their emotional state without losing your own. When you master this, you become someone who brings clarity to chaotic moments, comfort to overwhelming moments, softness to vulnerable moments, stability to intense moments. Social calibration is not about changing who you are. It is about adjusting how you deliver yourself, attune without absorbing, meet without mirroring, guide without forcing. That is the essence of true social intelligence. Chapter 8. Build high-level empathy. Feel with clarity, not chaos. Empathy is not about absorbing someone's emotions. Empathy is about understanding them without losing yourself. Most people misunderstand empathy. They believe empathy means carrying other people's pain. They believe empathy means feeling what they feel. They believe empathy means taking responsibility for their emotional world. But this leads to emotional exhaustion. It leads to overwhelm. It leads to blurred boundaries and relationships that drain instead of deepen. High-level empathy requires clarity, not emotional fusion. It requires presence, not self-sacrifice. It requires understanding, not absorption. Healthy empathy is connection with separation. To understand empathy at a high level, you must first understand the difference between emotional empathy and cognitive empathy. Emotional empathy is when you feel someone's emotion as if it were your own. This can create compassion, but it can also create overwhelm. Cognitive empathy is understanding the emotion without becoming the emotion. It is the ability to see the experience, not drown in it. This form of empathy creates clarity, stability, and a sense of grounded connection. You do not need to suffer with someone to understand them. People with strong emotional empathy often find themselves drained. When someone is anxious, they become anxious too. When someone is sad, their mood drops. When someone is angry, they absorb the tension. They lose emotional boundaries. This leads to burnout and resentment. It also makes them less effective at helping others because they lose the clarity needed to guide the moment. Cognitive empathy is the foundation of emotional leadership. Let's explore how high-level empathy actually works. When someone talks to you, they are not only communicating facts, they are communicating fear, uncertainty, longing, disappointment, insecurity, or hope. These emotional signals can be subtle. They may speak calmly while their eyes show hurt. They may smile while their voice trembles. They may joke while their posture collapses. These emotional contradictions are not mistakes. They are clues. High-level empathy sees the clue without assuming responsibility for it. You notice the fear, but you do not carry it. You acknowledge the sadness, but you do not sink into it. You hear the frustration, but you do not react to it. Your presence stays stable. This is what gives the other person space to open up. People feel safest with those who can understand their emotions without being consumed by them. To practice this, you must learn the art of perspective switching. This means imagining what the other person might be feeling, but from a distance that preserves your emotional clarity. Instead of thinking, "I feel their pain," think, "I see their pain and I understand it." Instead of thinking, "This hurts me too," think, "This matters to them and I'm here with awareness." This shift prevents your mind from merging into their emotional world. Empathy is not sinking into someone's story. Empathy is walking beside them through it. Another core part of high-level empathy is regulating your own emotions first. You cannot hold space for someone else if you cannot hold space for yourself. Before entering a difficult conversation, ground your breath, relax your shoulders, center your nervous system. When your body is calm, your mind gains the strength to perceive clearly. Your presence becomes steady enough to carry emotional weight without collapsing under it. Calmness in empathy is not coldness. Calmness is emotional capacity. When someone expresses pain, your silence and steadiness often help them more than anything you could say. They do not need you to match their chaos. They need you to be the ground their chaos can settle onto. This does not mean you suppress your emotions. It means you stay in control of them so you can stay available. High-level empathy is not emotional merging, it is emotional anchoring. Let's explore a common situation. Someone comes to you feeling overwhelmed. They are talking quickly, breathing heavily, or rambling through their fear. If you match their emotional state, you amplify their panic. If you remain grounded, you regulate their nervous system. They begin to breathe slower, they begin to speak more clearly, they begin to feel safer. This is co-regulation, and it is one of the most powerful forms of empathy. Another situation. Someone is sad but hiding it behind a smile. Emotional empathy may make you feel their sadness intensely. Cognitive empathy helps you recognize the sadness without falling into it. You might say something gentle like, "You seem quieter today. Is something on your mind?" This observation opens the door without pushing them. It shows them you see them, not just their mask. Empathy is listening to what is said and what is not said. To strengthen this skill, practice the three-layered awareness model. First, notice what the person is expressing verbally. Second, notice what they are expressing emotionally. Third, notice your own emotional response and keep it steady. This tri-layer awareness allows you to stay connected without absorbing their emotional turbulence. It creates a clear difference between your feelings and theirs. Another powerful practice is asking gentle, clarifying questions. These questions signal safety. They show curiosity instead of assumption. Questions like, "What feels hardest right now?" or "What do you think you need in this moment?" help reveal the deeper layers of their emotion. These questions guide without controlling. They open without pushing. Empathy is guided curiosity. But empathy is not only outward. You must also practice self-empathy. If you are harsh with your own emotions, you will struggle to hold space for others. If you abandon your own needs, you will lose clarity when supporting others. High-level empathy does not require self-erasure. It requires self-understanding. Self-empathy means acknowledging your limits. It means noticing when you are tired, overwhelmed, or emotionally drained. It means setting boundaries without guilt. You cannot hold space for others from an empty center. You cannot offer stability when you are not stable. High-level empathy begins with protecting your emotional capacity. You cannot support others if you abandon yourself. To integrate this chapter into daily life, reflect on these questions each evening. Did I absorb someone's emotions today? Did I lose myself while trying to help? Did I stay present without merging? Did I listen with clarity or chaos? These reflections refine your emotional boundaries and deepen your understanding. And now, we arrive at the core truth of this chapter. Empathy is not about carrying someone. It is about walking with them without losing your steps. High-level empathy does not drain you. It strengthens you. It expands your awareness. It deepens your relationships without sacrificing your peace. Feel with clarity. Understand with depth. Connect without losing yourself. Chapter 9. Protect your energy in social environments. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not every space deserves a place in your mind. Human beings are deeply affected by the emotional atmosphere around them. We pick up tension. We absorb anxiety. We feel the weight of someone's negativity. We get drained by loud personalities, chaotic environments, or conversations that pull us into emotional states we never chose. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is psychological maturity. It is emotional hygiene. It is the ability to stay centered in spaces that pull others off balance. Your energy is your emotional currency. Spend it with intention. Many people feel exhausted, not because their life is too demanding, but because their emotional boundaries are too open. They let everyone in. They say yes to every conversation. They carry other people's moods. They give attention to people who drain them. They stay in environments that disturb their inner stability, and they wonder why they feel depleted. Protecting your energy begins with understanding that emotional exposure is a choice. Your energy is not infinite. It needs conservation, not constant withdrawal. To protect your energy, you must first understand how social environments influence your nervous system. Every space has emotional signals. Some are calm, some are chaotic, some are heavy with unresolved tension, some are uplifting and expansive. Your body responds to these signals before your mind does. You feel the shift in your breath. You feel the tightening in your shoulders. You feel the heaviness in your chest. These sensations are not random. They are information. Your body detects emotional truth before your mind understands it. Paying attention to your internal signals is the first step in protecting your energy. When you enter a room and feel drained within minutes, something in that environment is pulling at your emotional bandwidth. When you speak to someone and feel tense, something in that interaction is misaligned with your nervous system. These responses are not weaknesses, they are warnings. Your energy is a natural boundary. Your intuition is its guardian. People who drain your energy fall into a few common patterns. Some constantly complain without wanting solutions. Some demand emotional labor without offering any in return. Some create chaos that they expect you to regulate. Some interrupt your peace because they cannot regulate their own. If you do not set boundaries, these people will consume your emotional capacity without hesitation. People who lack emotional control often borrow it from those who have it. You cannot protect your energy by trying to fix them. You protect your energy by limiting access. This does not require confrontation. It requires clarity. You do not need to argue about what drains you. You simply need to reduce how much time you spend engaging with it. Silence is a boundary. Distance is a boundary. Not responding immediately is a boundary. Your presence is valuable, and not everyone should have equal access to it. Let's explore how to protect your energy in real time. The first technique is emotional detachment through breath. When you feel someone else's emotion pulling on yours, take a slow breath. This breaks the automatic absorption. It recenters your nervous system. It prevents their emotional wave from becoming yours. Breath is the separation line between your world and theirs. The second technique is strategic disengagement. This means stepping back mentally while staying present physically. You listen, but you do not fuse. You acknowledge, but you do not absorb. You observe, but you do not internalize. Strategic disengagement allows you to maintain social interaction without sacrificing your emotional capacity. You remain available, but not open for emotional extraction. You can be present without being penetrated. The third technique is selective vulnerability. Not everyone should have access to your inner world. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your fears, your dreams, or your pain. Sharing with the wrong person drains you. Sharing with the right person strengthens you. Vulnerability requires discernment. Your emotions are precious. They should be treated by others as carefully as you treat theirs. Another powerful approach is energetic pacing. This is the practice of controlling the speed of interactions. When someone is emotionally intense, slow your tone and pace. When someone is chaotic, stabilize your breathing. When someone is overwhelming, create space through silence. You do not need to match their energy. You guide the interaction with yours. This protects your emotional balance and creates psychological distance. You regulate the moment by regulating yourself. It is also essential to recognize the environments that consistently drain you. Some rooms feel heavy because people carry unspoken conflict. Some social circles feel tense because there is hidden competition. Some work environments feel exhausting because they require emotional performance. The more self-aware you become, the more clearly you see which environments nourish your energy and which ones steal it. You are allowed to outgrow environments that shrink you. You're allowed to leave conversations that drain you. You're allowed to protect your peace without explaining it. To build long-term protection, you must develop emotional filtering. This means learning to separate which emotions belong to you and which emotions belong to others. When you feel heaviness, ask yourself, is this mine? When you feel tension, ask, did I create this? When you feel anxious, ask, is this my emotion or someone else's energy? These questions clarify your emotional identity. They prevent emotional fusion. They help you stay centered. Most of the emotions you feel in social environments are not yours. Another layer of protection is intentional connection. You must choose the people who uplift you, people who speak with honesty, people who listen with presence, people who support without demanding, people who respect your boundaries, people whose energy expands yours instead of consuming it. These relationships strengthen your emotional capacity instead of draining it. Protecting your energy also requires releasing guilt. Many people feel guilty for reducing access to those who exhaust them. They feel obligated to maintain connections that no longer serve their emotional health. But protecting your energy is not selfish. It is essential. You're not responsible for carrying others through their emotional storms. You are responsible for keeping yourself grounded. You do not owe anyone access to your energy. You owe yourself protection. To evaluate your emotional boundaries, reflect on these questions at the end of each day. Who drained my energy today? Who nourished it? Where did I give too much? Where did I stay centered? These reflections help you recognize patterns. They guide you toward healthier boundaries. They teach you how to choose emotional environments wisely. Now we reach the core lesson of this chapter. Your energy is your power. Protecting it is your responsibility. Not everyone gets to enter your inner world. Not every emotion deserves your attention. Not every conversation deserves your presence. Protect your energy so you can protect your clarity. Protect your clarity so you can protect your peace. Protect your peace so you can protect your life. Guard your emotional bandwidth. Not every access is worth the cost. Chapter 10. Lead yourself first, the core of social intelligence. You cannot understand others if you cannot understand yourself. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself. Social intelligence does not begin with reading people. It begins with reading your own mind. It begins with knowing your triggers, your insecurities, your patterns, your tendencies, and your emotional habits. Most people try to navigate the social world without ever examining their internal world. They try to understand others while misunderstanding themselves. They try to create healthy relationships while ignoring the unresolved parts of their identity. But social intelligence is not an external skill. It is an internal alignment. Your inner world sets the tone for every connection you create. Your reactions, your communication, your presence, and your emotional patterns all reflect what is happening inside you. If your mind is chaotic, your interactions will be chaotic. If your emotions are unstable, your relationships will feel unstable. If your insecurities are unexamined, they will shape your behavior in ways you do not notice. Self-leadership is not a suggestion, it is the foundation. To lead yourself, you must understand how your inner patterns influence your social world. Every emotional reaction has roots. Every insecurity has a story. Every pattern has a beginning. When you lack awareness of these inner dynamics, you unconsciously project them onto others. You assume rejection where there is none. You feel attacked when someone is simply stressed. You take offense at things that were not personal. You push people away because you fear vulnerability. You chase validation because you doubt your worth. Your social world is a mirror of your internal world. Self-leadership begins with understanding your emotional triggers. These triggers reveal where you have healing to do. When you feel defensive, what belief is being touched? When you feel insecure, what memory is resurfacing? When you feel fear, what story from your past is replaying? When you feel anger, what boundary has been crossed? These emotional signals are not weaknesses. They are information. Your emotions are not your enemy. Your lack of awareness is. Once you understand your triggers, you gain the power to regulate them. Emotional regulation is the ability to stay steady when the moment becomes heavy. It is the ability to pause before reacting. It is the ability to choose your tone, your words, and your presence with intention. This does not mean suppressing emotion. It means guiding it. Regulation is what allows you to stay grounded when others lose control. A regulated mind leads the room without force. Next, self-leadership requires recognizing your patterns. Every person has patterns in the way they communicate and connect. Some avoid conflict. Some over-explain. Some shut down. Some get louder. Some apologize excessively. Some withdraw emotionally. These patterns were learned through survival. But survival patterns do not always serve your growth. You must identify the patterns that protect you and the ones that limit you. Self-awareness is not about judgment. Self-awareness is about choice. When you see your patterns clearly, you stop acting from autopilot. You stop repeating emotional habits blindly. You begin shaping your interactions consciously. You begin choosing the version of yourself you bring into each moment. Another key element of self-leadership is understanding your desires. Many people suppress their desires because they fear disappointment, rejection, or judgment. But unspoken desires create resentment. You must clarify what you want from your connections. Do you want honesty? Do you want depth? Do you want support? Do you want peace? Without clarity, you send mixed signals to others. With clarity, you communicate authentically. Clarity creates alignment. Alignment creates connection. Self-leadership also means knowing your boundaries. Boundaries are the emotional rules that protect your mental health. Without boundaries, you overextend, overgive, and overexpose your emotional world. You allow access to people who drain you. You tolerate behavior that breaks your peace. You betray yourself to maintain harmony with others. But real harmony begins with inner alignment. When you know your boundaries, you protect your emotional space. You communicate your needs honestly. You choose environments that nourish you. Boundaries are not barriers. Boundaries are self-respect in action. Another layer of self-leadership is emotional responsibility. This means taking ownership of your reactions instead of blaming others for your feelings. It means saying, "This triggered me because of my past," instead of, "You made me feel this way." It means understanding that your emotions are yours to manage. Responsibility does not mean blame. It means power. When you take responsibility for your emotions, you gain the ability to change them. Responsibility is the doorway to emotional freedom. To lead yourself, you must develop inner space. Inner space is the distance between stimulus and response. It is the ability to observe your impulse without acting on it. It is the ability to breathe through discomfort. It is the pause that protects your growth. Inner space creates emotional maturity. It stops you from reacting out of habit and allows you to respond from awareness. A person with inner space becomes unshakable. People feel safe around those who are not controlled by fear or insecurity or impulsive emotion. Your groundedness invites others to become grounded. Your calmness regulates their nervous system. Your clarity reduces their confusion. Your presence becomes a source of stability. This is leadership at the deepest level. Leadership is not authority. Leadership is emotional mastery. To cultivate self-leadership, practice the art of inner observation. At the end of each day, ask yourself, where did I lose myself today? Where did I stay grounded? What pattern did I repeat? What emotion guided my decisions? What fear tried to speak for me? What truth did I avoid? These questions uncover your blind spots. They reveal your emotional identity. They help you grow. Another essential practice is intentional self-connection. Spend time alone. Listen to your inner world. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Notice what your body is telling you. Silence reveals emotional truth. The more you understand yourself in stillness, the more control you have in conversation. Integrity is self-trust. Self-trust is power. We now reach the core principle of this chapter. Social intelligence does not begin with understanding others. It begins with mastering yourself, your awareness, your patterns, your regulation, your boundaries, your clarity, your integrity. This is what shapes your presence. This is what influences your interactions. This is what builds meaningful connection. You do not need to become someone else to navigate the world well. You need to become more aware of the person you already are. Lead yourself first, then you will lead every room you walk into. Understanding people begins with understanding yourself, and mastering the social world begins with mastering the inner one. Throughout this journey, you have learned to read behavior beneath the surface, to see signals others overlook, to understand reactions that once confused you. You have learned that human behavior is not random. It is patterned. It is emotional. It is rooted in memory, fear, and longing. And the more awareness you bring into every interaction, the more clearly you see the truth behind it. Awareness is the anchor. Clarity is the compass. Presence is the path. You now understand that people speak with more than words. Their eyes reveal tension. Their posture reveals insecurity. Their tone reveals fear. Their silence reveals overwhelm. And when you slow down long enough to notice these subtle truths, connection becomes deeper and conflict becomes clearer. You no longer respond blindly. You respond consciously. You also learned the power of first impressions, how your presence shapes the room before you speak, how your energy signals safety or tension, how your pace and tone guide the emotional rhythm of the interaction. You now understand that influencing others begins with regulating yourself. Emotional leadership is quiet, it is steady, it is intentional. You explored the roots of emotional triggers, seeing how reactions are rarely about the moment itself. They are emotional echoes from long before. This understanding frees you from taking things personally. It helps you see the person behind the reaction instead of engaging with the reaction itself. It creates compassion where confusion once lived, and you learned the power of silence. Silence is not absence. Silence is insight. Silence is space for truth. It allows emotions to reveal themselves. It allows the nervous system to soften. It allows clarity to rise. You learned that a quiet mind sees loudly. Stillness is intelligence. Pause is power. You discovered influence without force. You learned how pressure creates resistance and how calmness creates openness. You learned to guide rather than push, to speak with intention rather than intensity, to invite engagement rather than demand agreement. Influence became less about what you said and more about who you were while saying it. You explored emotional detachment, realizing that your peace is not determined by someone else's reaction. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It is the ability to separate your identity from their emotional storm. It is the recognition that their behavior reflects their inner world, not your worth. When you detach, you stay free. When you stay free, you stay grounded. You learned social calibration, the art of matching energy without absorbing emotion. You learned to attune rather than mirror, guide rather than react, slow down rather than escalate. This ability makes you someone others naturally trust. Your steadiness becomes a refuge. You learned high-level empathy, understanding that empathy is not emotional merging. Empathy is presence. Empathy is gentle clarity. Empathy is knowing someone's emotional world without drowning in it. It is connection with separation. It is compassion without collapse. Empathy done right deepens connection without draining your soul. And finally, you arrived at the heart of everything. Self-leadership. The truth that social intelligence begins with your own mind, your own patterns, your own boundaries, your own regulation. When you understand yourself, you stop projecting. When you regulate yourself, you stop reacting. When you lead yourself, you guide every room you enter. The relationship you build with yourself shapes every relationship you build with others. So as we close this audiobook, take this with you. You are not here to control people. You are here to understand them. You are not here to decode every emotion. You are here to stay grounded within your own. You are not here to perform confidence. You are here to embody clarity. Your social world becomes calmer when you become calmer. Your relationships become healthier when you become healthier. Your communication becomes clearer when your inner world becomes clear. The mastery you seek is already inside you. Every pause, every breath, every moment of awareness strengthens it. You do not rise by reacting, you rise by understanding. Walk into every room with presence, speak with intention, feel with clarity, observe with depth, connect without losing yourself. And always remember, human behavior is not chaos, it is communication. Once you understand the language, you never go through the world confused again.